Recently, the development team of Minecraft Legends announced that only after 8 months of release, there will be no more content updates. The game is basically being abandoned. Usually I like to give Minecraft games the benefit of the doubt, but this was absolutely squandered potential. There are a lot of parts of the game that make it unique. After the reviews of Minecraft Dungeons simply calling it a Diablo clone, I thought it was good to see a less traveled path for the franchise to take. But whether it was the PvP combat that left some players feeling unsatisfied, or the complete lack of endgame, the game flopped hard. There's a lot of positives and negatives to this game, some which shouldn't be overlooked and encouraged for future Minecraft spin-offs, as well as issues with this game that could later on serve as a cautionary tale for future development. First off, with the positives, I personally really enjoyed the plethora of beautifully animated cutscenes. The amount of effort, not just put into the lighting and detail, but the personality and expression is something to be admired. Things like the smoke coming from the Devourer's nose after eating an explosive fungus, although not pixelated like the rest of the game, still sort of fits. So it's safe to say they did quite well on that front. The music is amazingly composed by Crispin Hands, which I hope gets another shot in a future game. There's so much whimsy and character to each song, especially with the Horde and boss themes. Non-action themes, like preparations, always gives an amazing sense of wonder, yet anxiety for the overworld, as piglins threaten its very existence. Even after people stop playing the game completely, which I hope doesn't happen anytime soon, I'm still going to be listening to these soundtracks frequently. As said before, Legends as a strategy game is not a usually done category. While Dungeons had a lot of appeal of being a Diablo clone, with people knowing what to expect, it feels like a much smaller demographic was targeted for this game. The lore caught the attention of a lot of Minecraft fans, even if they didn't play the game, which is good for further exposure to more people who are interested in the world of Minecraft. The more attention to detail you give, the more complicated some of the lore points can come across. The Legends style is similar, but not exactly like Minecraft's art, textures being a lot more simplistic in texture shading, but it's a good deviation from the norm. The unit pathfinding is consistent, while unfamiliar players might find it jarring to use, losing troops. But if you learn little niche ways to properly direct your army, you shouldn't lose anything unnecessarily. The gameplay overall is something unlike many other games. Like I said, the wasted potential of such a concept is a major shame. Even the PvP versus mode is quite special, even in the scope of the game, with up to 4 players per team in a race to build defenses, take resources from piglins, and raid enemy player bases. Lost Legends were special challenges that released every month until the final Snow vs. Snouts released, which also announced the game's ceasement of development through the Minecraft.net site, were very fun to play. My personal 2 favourites being the Portal Pile, being a wave defense challenge, and the Breakout, where the player has to defeat different bases to unlock different troops, to defeat the Unbreakable in under an hour. Even if the Lost Legends weren't enough of a challenge, custom worlds could be created with your own custom multipliers and more, with some achievements even revolving around completing the game with certain multipliers enabled. All of the enemies are very obvious to differentiate from each other, with many of their abilities and threat level being clear through their appearance alone. Each enemy brings a different challenge when attacking bases or defending villages. Each piglin adding something separate to the melting pot of this game's combat, with the tankier enemies taking your focus, letting the little guys do a lot more damage. Some situations that are generated can be frustrating, which I personally think is a good thing if done intentionally, most of the time being a sort of new hurdle for the player to strategize on how to take down. Something like this is the air chopper. To anyone who might just run into a base with as many creepers as they can carry, usually destroying the portal pretty quick, the air chopper blows them away from the portal before they have the chance to do anything, meaning you would have to rethink a different strategy to take down the defenses of this base, or just the air chopper to continue on with your original plan. Finally, something I feel is pretty important to mention, the community's effect on the game. Obviously, there's still a good chunk of people that love what the game presents, with some going as far to mod the game to provide more content to the community. Modded projects like Codename Boar, which you may have seen floating around YouTube. Even Witherking, a frequent contributor to the channel, has contributed to one of these mods. There is a lot of promise within these projects. So if you're at least somewhat interested in learning or helping out with some of these major fan mods, then you should know that the people working on these projects have been looking for more talent. The communities are extremely welcoming and are willing to help you get started on your modding journey. You can join the Legends modding Discord, as I've linked in the description below if you're interested. Now, onto the negatives. to learn what could be done better next time and what to watch out for. First, the lack of endgame content. From my perspective, before I finally defeated the main boss, I was starting to feel like I was getting the hang of it. Then came the anticlimactic fight of the Great Hog, which I feel the game kind of just forgot about compared to the other generals. The fight was also very easy to cheese, with the surrounding defenses being practically useless, being able to waltz right through them straight to the boss. The defenses could have been a good amalgam of the three hordes: heavy fortification and weaponry, along with a massive amount of troops, as well as being basically forgotten for most of the game, not as fleshed out as the generals. Just kind of appears like the developers suddenly remembered the character existed. We know they could have done the same through how well they did this with the generals, so it stands out as a bit of an odd contrast. The boss fight itself, with the times I've fought it, is not hard. The pieces of grass surrounding the Well of Fate is a cool visual, but that makes it all too easy to cure the netherrack within the area, to spam defenses to completely take up the Great Hog's attention, letting the player spawn whatever troops they need in. I mentioned this before, but the first of Brick bugged out, constantly walking into the Great Hog, pushing him out of the arena and making the Great Hog's AI also not know what to do, making the fight less than a breeze. Personal customization is an important thing for Minecraft. Mojang even knows this, with that being the main reason they added armor trims to the main game. But Legends barely has any personal customization, with only 8 placeholder skins, with even dungeons doing this to an extent, with a plethora of skins and different armors as well. Everyone I've introduced this game to has had more difficulties than usually becoming accustomed to the controls and mechanics, which may simply be a result from the more complex nature of the game, but you even see me struggle a bit in my first live stream of this game. I feel like this would have probably been from the nature of how the game works, so I'm not too sure how this could be simplified without redoing a lot of the base game. It feels like Mojang, who developed the game alongside Blackbird Interactive, really didn't give the game enough attention, with poor marketing and confusing trailers that made most think the game was going to be completely different. Some believe that the reason for Mojang not doing as much would be that they thought it would gain popularity and sales by just being under the Minecraft brand, but clearly this isn't the case. Even in Minecraft Live, the time Legends was shown for, and what was shown was not enough. I only remember Minecraft Live mentioning that you can pet the animals over and over again. Like, it's a nice little detail to the game, but it shouldn't have been something that was almost entirely used as an advertising feature for the coming update at the time. The marketplace myths, which act as non-canon third-party stories, were essentially monopolized by the company House of How, with no other myths even going up there, which is a shame. Whilst this idea had some definite potential being described as creator-made projects, I don't see a single one that wasn't made by this company. The gameplay did get a little repetitive. After getting the hang of how to play, all of the missions are pretty much the same: defend villages and destroy bases. Another issue with progression is that once you understand this next thing, it can really pull you out. The fact that you can't really fail removes the feeling of urgency and threat. The most of the failures, like a village being taken over, is only a setback, easily fixed by running in and chasing the piglins out. Even then, if you decide to leave the villages under the control of the piglins, you just lose a fast travel location and don't get materials from that village, making some things a little more inconvenient at most. For the price that you'll pay, I doubt the average player will experience all of it, unless they're a really big Minecraft fan. So it comes across as a little pricey for the experience for some, and I can see why. Other issues like bugs, where the GUI doesn't render, still persist, at least for me, alongside latency and pathfinding of troops in specific landscapes, which I'm unhappy they weren't fixed. As a personal nitpick, why are the newer cutscenes at such a different aspect ratio? The animation feels slightly different, but I can't tell why. Even the frog cutscene feels quite odd, as there's no narration unlike the other Mount cutscenes. But finally, what I think is the biggest loss of all, something that was found out by a data mine, is that the marketplace was planned to have a DLC section, meaning we could have seen more expansions on the lore of characters, such as the Seer and the Great Hog, which now we might not know anything more on down the line. I'm optimistic that Mojang and whatever other company they're working with on the next Minecraft spin-off will have learned from this game's faults. So we'll see how they do in like 5 years. What do you think of the news? Do you have any other opinions on what Legends did well or could have done better? If you're interested in some of the lore that Minecraft Legends has to offer and haven't seen videos where I cover them yet, go check them out. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you in another video. But until then, have a good day or night.